Welcome in, everyone. I'm SquishableMoon, your shooting star with a ranch addiction and fewer brain cells than the common garden snail. And welcome back to my channel. And today we are going to be talking about a movie that I absolutely love. You may or may not have heard of it. It is called The Last Unicorn by Peter S. Beagle, who is personally one of my favorite authors and will always be my favorite author no matter what. The Last Unicorn is, obviously as it sounds, a movie about a unicorn, and if any of you guys know, I absolutely adore unicorns. And this was a big movie of my childhood. I would request to watch this every day if I could. Whenever me and my mom and brother would go to Blockbuster of all places. Yes, I am old enough to know what Blockbuster is. I am 26 and I remember Blockbuster back in my day. But no, I absolutely loved Blockbuster. I kind of miss it. I miss going and getting a movie and just renting it out and getting candy. I don't know if other people remember that feeling, but it was really, really fun to just go and grab a movie from a place. It's kind of the same thing as like going and buying a book and bringing it home, I feel like. That's why I've gotten into buying books recently, because I can actually go out to a book place and actually buy a book, and then voila, it's like the same serotonin all over again. But yes, before I get into this, I do want to state that this movie does have some darker themes in it. It is, I would say, a dark fantasy. So if you are a bit scared of maybe some darker elements, this movie may not be for you. But if you're willing to give it a watch regardless, I hope you do. I am going to be giving you a rundown of what the movie is. There will be some spoilers, obviously, because I'm going to be going over some parts of the movie that I love. And if you're cool with that, awesome sauce. Let's get into the video. So the movie begins with a unicorn in a forest. And the forest is described as a lilac forest, which I think is an amazing way to describe a beautiful forest. And it starts off with some local hunters talking about the forest and saying how it's always spring and it's always green. And that is because the last unicorn in the whole world lives in this very forest. Of course, the unicorn overhears this and is like, "What do you mean? I'm the last unicorn? That cannot be true. I cannot be the last." And she, of course, is very distraught over this. She does run into a butterfly, which butterflies in this universe are storytellers and singers and jokesters, which I think is absolutely cute as freaking hell. That is adorable. I love that. The butterfly is talking in riddles and isn't really giving her a straight answer. However, he does give her an answer about one thing, that the unicorns, all of them, were found and ran off basically because of a Red Bull. The Red Bull herded them all to the ends of the universe, or the ends of the world, and covered their trail behind them with his footprints. Now, obviously, the unicorn is like, "Who is the Red Bull?" She doesn't know anything about it. And this gets her thinking that she wants to go and find where all the unicorns are. And she does. She sets off to go and find where the other unicorns are. This is where we get a really amazing song sequence.
In the shadow of the forest, though she may be old and worn, they will stare unbelieving at the last unicorn.
Now, something that I absolutely love about this movie that I hope others can appreciate is just how nice the animation is. It is absolutely beautifully drawn. It is almost like watching a painting that is a movie, if you know what I mean. It's like a dream, almost. Like if I could put my dream into a movie, that is what I imagine this to be like. I'll put a little part of the movie in so you can hear some of the music and see what I'm talking about. So the unicorn travels basically day and night for as long as she can. She runs into a human man who mistakes her for a white mare. It seems like humans have long forgotten about unicorns and basically cannot see the unicorns for what they truly are and see them as just plain horses. Of course, that doesn't stop her and she keeps going. That is until she has to take a nap and, of course, a caravan. Out of everything, a caravan goes beside her. And a woman named Mommy Fortuna. Yeah, Mommy Fortuna comes out and asks her right-hand man and also a magician who is called Smindrick, which is an amazing name, by the way. This woman, Mommy Fortuna, looked absolutely horrific. She is so scary looking to me. I just remember when I was a kid being so scared of her. She is like what old witches used to look like in movies, I feel like. And I just absolutely love the character design in this. It was always so good, freaking amazing. And of course, Mama Fortuna wants to kidnap the unicorn because she can actually see that it's a unicorn. And so she does. She kidnaps the unicorn and she's put behind iron bars that can hold her. So we come to find out that this is a traveling caravan, kind of like a zoo. They have magical creatures on display for people who don't normally get to see these things to pay and come see. Of course, the animals are not what they seem to be, and in fact are just animals with magic put on them to make them look like magical creatures. All except the unicorn and one other thing, and that is the harpy Selena. This is a magical harpy that she was able to capture along with the unicorn and is very dangerous. Now, Smindrick, really cool magician, doesn't believe that he is a good magician. He can barely do card tricks and other small things, but he ends up becoming friends with the unicorn and wants to help her basically get free. So he uses his magic, but none of it really works. So he goes and he gets the keys and unlocks her cell. Of course, this doesn't stop at her just unlocking her cell. She also unlocks all of the other animals that were being held captive, along with the harpy. Now, in the movie, this is one of the really more disturbing scenes. And I say disturbing because we get a really big harpy. And the harpy does, in fact, kill Mommy Fortuna. Fortuna? I haven't watched the movie in so long. I feel like I'm not saying her name right. Is it Fortuna? Fortuna. Maybe I'm putting too much emphasis on the tuna part. Fortuna. You know, whatever. It doesn't matter. She dies. She 100% gets ate by this harpy lady, okay? She 100% dies. And, of course, I'm only going to be going over the movie. I'm not going to be going over the book because the book is a little bit different than the movie. But we're just going over the movie right now. So they basically walk off, they get free, and Smindrick and the unicorn end up going together to find out what happened to the unicorns. So while traveling, they run into some bandits who end up taking Smindrick in and asking him to do magic. This is also where we meet Maggie, who will be another character that we will talk about a little bit. I like her design. I like a lot of the designs in this. I feel like Maggie looks very adorable in her clothes. She looks a little run down, like she's had a really hard life, and that makes me sad. And they end up falling for a trick that Smindrick is actually able to pull. He is able to use real magic, saying magic, do as you will, and the magic actually works, and he's able to make Robin Hood and Queen Marian and all of that pop up for the bandits to run after because they want to be part of their little gang. Of course, this doesn't bode well for Smindrick. He gets tied to a tree because the bandits are like, that's not funny, and he gets tied to a tree. Now, he tries to use his magic once again. He turns the tree into a sexy tree. Now, stay with me. Stay with me. Please stay with me. he turns the tree into a thick, womanly tree. She has big bazonga-gongas, if you know what I mean. Like, just massive. I'll put a picture on the screen. You'll see what I'm talking about. But it's a big, thick tree who's in love with Smindrick. Of course, the unicorn comes and saves him, and while traveling back from the tree, they run into Maggie, who finally sees a unicorn for the first time. And we come to find out that she has been waiting her whole life to meet a unicorn and had never got the chance when she was younger, when she was pure and brand new, and one of the innocent maidens that unicorns would always come to. This part of the film really hurt me. I don't know why, but it hit me on a spiritual level. Just hearing her crying, like, how dare you? How dare you come to me now when I am this? That line has stuck with me forever because I myself have always believed in unicorns. I have always been a big believer of unicorns, even as I've gotten older, because I truly believe in order to see unicorns, you have to believe in them. So I will never stop believing in them, whether I'm a kid, whether I'm an adult. I believe one day I will see a unicorn, whether I am dead, I'm going to see one, okay? Anyway, after this, they start traveling and they're trying to find Hagrid's castle. And this is where they run into the Red Bull. Now, the Red Bull is a really cool character. I remember being so terrified of this Red Bull because it's almost like a bull made of fire. He looks like he burns everything he touches. He's ginormous, bigger than a regular bull, obviously. And he starts chasing the unicorn. You know, of course he's not harming her, but he's frantically running after her, trying to herd her where he herded all the other unicorns before her. And he is trying to take her there. And Smindrick and Maggie are like, what do we do? Maggie's like, please do something, begging Smindrick to use his magic to be able to do anything. And so Smindrick tries. He says, magic, do as you will. And we get a really beautiful sequence of magic, of him just letting the magic do whatever it wants. To use him as a vessel to use the magic. And he turns her into a human girl. From being an immortal unicorn to a human girl. And this is a really, really striking scene in the movie. Imagine being an immortal, pure being of whatever unicorns are, of just magic, and then being trapped in a human body, a mortal body, with all these feelings and emotions and weird gobbledygook that she probably doesn't understand. We get in a really emotional scene where she's like, what have you done to me? I'm a unicorn. I'm a unicorn. And of course, this is probably the first time in her life she's ever actually been so terrified. I don't know, even when she was being chased by the Red Bull, I feel like was less terrifying than her being put in a mortal body. By the way, I loved her character design in the movie. The like almost white silvery hair, like a white blonde, and then her beautiful purple eyes, and she still has the head crest. Beautiful. Scrumptious. Every design in this movie is just scrumptious. I just freaking eat them up. Just eat them up. I love it so much. And the voice acting, don't even get me started on the voice acting. Chef kiss. Amazing. So, they turn her into a human girl. And of course, they can't just call her the unicorn while they're going to Hagrid's castle, because that's where they're going. That is like the castle on a hill that leads to the ocean where they think the unicorns may be. And the unicorn is like, we still need to continue on this journey to find the other unicorn. So they are continuing to Hagrid's castle. And of course, she can't just be called unicorn. So they call her the Lady Amalthea, which I think is a gorgeous name. Amalthea is beautiful if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but it's gorgeous. They finally get to Hagrid's castle, and now they have to sort of convince him to let them stay. And Hagrid, one of my favorite characters in the whole entire series. I freaking love Hagrid. I feel like he's a very dynamic character. I feel like he has a lot of potential, and I feel like he uses a lot of that potential to his benefit. So not only is this where we meet Hagrid, but it is also where we meet Prince Lance, who is staying with Hagrid. Now, Hagrid has a magical magician who's like supposed to be an amazing sorcerer, and he is using him to kind of, I guess Hagrid is trying to make himself happy or entertained. It doesn't seem like he knows what he wants, honestly. And they convince him to let them stay as a maid, and also to let Smindrick try and make him happy. Because clearly the really good magician isn't making him happy. So why doesn't he try maybe a less good magician to see if that would make him happy? Now, Prince Lance, he does have more information about him in the book. That is one thing I do want to recommend. If you're going to be watching the movie, definitely read the book first. Of course, if you don't want to read, that's totally fine. But the book does have way more information in it than the movie does. The movie is a great adaptation, do not get me wrong. I love the movie. I watched the movie before I read the book. But if you want more lore, definitely read the book. Now, when I first watched the movie, the love story always confused me. I was like, why did they put a love story in this? But now that I'm older, I have come to really love the love story that is in this movie, specifically because to me it makes sense. She is a unicorn, a pure, immortal embodiment of purity, and she has never had to deal with human emotion before. And she's been put in a girl's body full of emotions and feelings, and that is one of the only men she's been around was Lance, other than Smindrick and Maggie. And I think it makes sense for them to just sort of fall in love, almost like as she becomes more human, she experiences love more. And I think that's why she was so terrified of staying human, because the longer she was human, the more she lost her unicorn, I don't know, essence almost in a way. It's like she's forgetting who she was. Like she can't remember herself being a unicorn. There are so many beautiful sequences of song in this movie. There is a song about her talking about losing her memory of being a unicorn as the longer she is in her human body. And we get to see that Hagrid's castle is actually full of unicorn stuff. It has unicorn tapestries, unicorn paintings, figures, everything to do with the unicorns. Now, we come to find out that they need to find the Red Bull in order to find the unicorns. And they find out that the Red Bull is staying underneath the castle. We also find out Hagrid freaking, he wanted the unicorns because they made him happy. He had never been happier than seeing the unicorns. So he took all the unicorns and drove them into the ocean. Which is, it's such a weird thing to me that he saw something that made him so happy that it's almost like it drove him insane. He had to have the unicorns. And he drove them into the ocean so he could never look at them. But he has them. I think he just wants the power of having the unicorns all to himself and not sharing them. So there's another character that I haven't talked about yet, which is a skeleton character. I don't think he has a name. He's the mirror skeleton. That is how you get underneath the castle. And in order to get underneath the castle, Smindrick has to use his magic to turn water into wine. Now, it's skeptical if he actually turned the water into wine, But the skeleton was like, I can remember the taste of wine. It was creepy. The skeleton always freaked me out when I was little. He was honestly terrifying. He had like red glowing eyes. Ugh, creepy. So Maggie, Smindrick, the unicorn, and Lance all go into the portal to find the Red Bull. And they do. But we clearly see that Prince Lance and Amalthea are extremely close to the point where she doesn't know if she even wants to be a unicorn anymore. She wants to stay a human and be with Lance. But that is when the Red Bull shows up. And of course, magic from Smindrick decides to kick in now and turn her back into a unicorn, finally. And Lance obviously tries to protect Amalthea, the last unicorn, from the bull and gets absolutely annihilated and run over by the Red Bull. It was awful. And the unicorn uses her strength to fight back against the Red Bull and push it into the ocean, where we get my favorite scene in the whole movie. Imagine this. The Red Bull stepping into the ocean, and on the waves in the white ocean, you see beautiful unicorns on the ocean waves coming in from the ocean and finally reaching the shore and running through Hagrid's castle as it just destroys itself. The castle falls to the ground and falls into the ocean with Hagrid inside. After the unicorn sets all the other unicorns free, Maggie and Smindrick set off on a journey of their own, together, of course, and the unicorn says she's going to return to her forest, but not before saying that no unicorns know what regret is, but she does, because she is the one unicorn that has been a human and has loved another human and regrets becoming another unicorn. This was a really sad scene. It's almost bittersweet. Lance is still alive, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. He's totally fine. The unicorn saved him. He's good. And she ends up going back to her forest, and that's the end of the movie. Now, this movie isn't just my favorite movie because it's visually appealing, which it is. It reminds me a lot of old Disney or even maybe Studio Ghibli, like that old just drawing animation, and it is my favorite style of animation. The unicorn is beautiful, all the characters are beautiful, the backgrounds are beautiful, all of the music is beautiful. Now, something I do want to talk about is I know that Peter S. Beagle had a lot of trouble financially with the rights to his book and movie, I believe, where he wasn't getting any money in finance because of it. I hear that it's been settled now, but it's still really sad to see because he deserves all of the money for making such a beautiful work of art as The Last Unicorn. Before I leave, I do want to give you a little bit of a story time. So when I was in high school, I had a friend, and we're just going to call my friend R. And R allowed me to go to the Renaissance with her one year. It was really nice of her. She let me go. She was living with her grandparents. She was so sweet. And I got to go to the Renaissance. I dressed up as a wolf. I had like a whole furry bodysuit. It wasn't like a furry bodysuit, but I had like just like furry, like a furry sweater, and like I looked like a weird wolf, okay? That's all that matters. And believe it or not, Peter S. Beagle was actually there. And I had already spent all my money, so I wasn't able to get a signature. But I waited in line to talk to him anyway because I really wanted to meet him. And as I was standing there, he was talking to some of the other people, and I got to say hi to him, and instead of getting a handshake, he hugged me. I got a hug from Peter S. Beagle. He smelled amazing. I know that's weird to say, but he smelled almost kind of like mint and like plants. He was such a nice person. I honestly believe that he's a good person deep down. And the fact that he's a good person and wrote my favorite book and movie known to man just really makes my heart happy, because it is very hard to find celebrities, I guess, that are good and good at what they do. And it made me really happy. But yeah, have you guys seen this movie? Would you want to watch this movie? I really think you should, because it's a good movie. And honestly, I don't think any other movie or book will ever reach this amount of satisfaction, especially because it's a movie and book about a unicorn. And it's hard to find unicorn content that isn't catered to children. This is very much an adult film, an adult book. It is written for adults very clearly. And it's very hard to find that, because people think once you become an adult, you can't like unicorns anymore. And that's just not true. And Peter just really shows us that you can like unicorns no matter what your age is. There is no reason to give up part of your childhood just because you're older. With that being said, though, I hope you enjoyed this video. And let me know down in the comments what show or movie I should talk about next. And with that being said, I hope all your dreams come true. Bye bye.